Oh, swimmingly. How did what did you have to do? What were you doing?
I interviewed a pet groomer for Pet Sitter Confessional.
Ooh,
Sweet.
Yeah, no, she was really great. She is a house call pet groomer and pet care giver of person things. And so she actually goes into people's homes to give the grooming, which is kind of cool because she focuses a lot on elderly dogs or dogs with medication that they don't do well in other settings. So, yup. So I'm, So that was pretty exciting. Pretty interesting to hear. I'd never heard anything about that. I've never actually talked to a groomer about what a groomer does. So I learned a ton. Especially when I got her talking about like her favorite tools and that kind of stuff. So she was very happy to tell me all about the stuff that she uses, which, you know, again, nerd out, please, because
and you got to think too, like they're not like hairdressers in that they don't get to talk to their clients while they're doing it.
Yeah,
right. They need an outlet.
Yeah,
because they can't like talk with the dog. Like my hairdresser lady, she just talks about all kinds of stuff, blah blah blah. But like they don't have that outlet, so they need someone to talk to about their craft and just about things in general.
Yeah,
I mean, hanging out with dogs all day is cool, but they don't talk back to you.
Nope.
So.
Sure don't. Yeah. So that was good, and then that went long, and then I had to go. We've also. So we do dog sitting with a company called Rover.com, and it's kind of like the Uber of pet care, where anybody can sign up and make a profile and list their services, and then you can go on there, and they're kind of just a listing service.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've been with them for almost 8 years now, and we didn't think that the animosity between like traditional style pet care and kennels was that bad against Rover. But our latest episode was about, not to talk about podcasts on a podcast, because that's kind of annoying and stupid, but
podcastception.
Whoa.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Oh no. Our latest episode was on advertising, and so I thought, hey, we're going to the dog park. Let me take a picture of Megan standing in the dog park with her Rover shirt on, and that'll be what we use for our post this week, because what a great way to showcase how to advertise. And in this one group, we got people who were like, F Rover, get rid of that shirt. I'm unsubscribing from your podcast. I'm not supporting this. This is terrible. Rover is awful. How dare you? And just like on and on and on.
Whoa.
And Megan and I were like, what? And all of the arguments are the same thing that the taxi industry did when when Uber came in. Of, it's not fair. They don't have to have the licenses. Where's the regulation of them? You know, they don't work that hard. They just sit around and wait for things to happen. They're not real business owners. And so Megan had another fire that we needed to address because of that. So it's just ridiculous. And the thing is, I think on our episode, on our podcast, we don't even talk about Rover ever. Like, we'll say we sit with Rover, but blah 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 blah, or it's not a shill for Rover at all. It's just sharing. And these people got so angry about it. They were so angry. So, word to the wise: be careful.
It's very strange, like, just to be that, like, violently upset about someone that takes care of a dog. Like, I'm not saying this is not a valuable service. I'm not undercutting you in any way, but like,
no, it's fine.
But
it's fine.
Like, I'm saying, like there's some other things that happen in the world that are like really bad, and people just go, whatever. And then if they have a violent reaction to the type of dog watching service that is presented to them, I find this a very interesting reaction, right? Like that doesn't make sense to me on a certain level.
I know. And it's, on one hand, I can kind of understand it if you're somebody who started from ground zero with your pet care business and you've been there for 20 years and you've built up your clientele and you've invested in licenses and fees and insurance and blah, 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 blah. And then some college student signs up for Rover and gets a couple dog walks that you don't get anymore. And, they didn't have to pay for a license and they didn't have to blah, 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 blah. Like that's where that bitterness starts.
It's capitalism. That's what you wanted.
Yeah,
you signed up for. That's how it works. Like that's like I don't understand. That is the capitalist system.
Yes,
that people claim to love so dearly. Is that
well,
anybody else can do it too? Like if you can get money, so can someone else. They can do the same thing. Like,
they just want it to be as hard for the new person as it was for them. Progress is not okay.
Yeah, but if it was 20 years ago, like. You have to think about that. Like 20 years ago, it was a hassle to call someone on the phone. Like, like it was hard. If you wanted to call somebody on the telephone, it was a difficult, like not difficult, but like you had to like step one, find a phone. Like that was still a thing that you had to do. So like,
it was.
You might have had to put money into that phone. Like
maybe.
Like put my quarters in. Hold on.
Let me tell. Then you had to remember people's phone numbers.
True. Right.
That part's difficult.
It is difficult.
Yeah.
I used to have them written down on a little thing in my wallet, like important phone numbers on the back of like some kind of card or something, just tucked in there for when my brain failed me.
Mine were written on the back of Dad's business card. That was where I put all my numbers.
Oh yeah. Makes sense. I might have done a similar thing. Yeah, I probably did. Yeah, just carry it around with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just got me thinking about how people how their assumptions of one thing lead to their just broad generalization of hatred against everybody else. And this is a very, very small corner of that world. Obviously.
But I feel like that theme is overlapping into many other aspects of life, right? That's kind of how it works. Like, what do you mean you don't agree with me? How dare you? Like,
yeah.
This is why I think that the internet is simultaneously the best and worst thing that's ever been invented.
What's there's an internet theory that if you argue long enough, someone will bring up Hitler in a conversation.
Yeah,
they're going to call you a Nazi. Yeah.
That is a theory. It has a name. I don't remember.
Yeah,
and also that goes along with. There's a second one that you will get corrected by.
The well actually culture.
Well, yeah. But no, there's a written out theory that goes. I can't remember what it's called, but I do remember that there's a meme somewhere where somebody calls it the wrong name. They call it like Murphy's Law, and someone's like, "No, you idiot! It's this law," and he goes, "You see."
Exactly. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's kind of that you mentioned. It's like the best and worst thing. Like it really culminates in not culminates, but in one of that aspects is the ability and the power to now all of a sudden argue. Like it's now more easier than ever to argue out of ignorance, and to have that on full display in everything, in ways that you interact with people online, because there's no consequences if you do. You don't have to know everything about it. You can just spout off an opinion and either get corrected or not, or wind up talking about Nazis.
Well,
so it just kind of took all of that and put it into a weird amalgam for us as we were experiencing that, of like just sitting back and being like, wow. And it's fine. Like it's fine. Have those opinions, and that's your experience, and I'm sorry that's how it's been for you, but don't put that on everybody. Don't make those broad generalizations, because we know people who are, 4 times as busy as we are out there busting it and, paying taxes. They're registered as a business, all sorts of stuff. And it's just,
yeah.
you don't understand.
There's also actual dog kennels that are like cesspits that are terrible, and people take their dogs there and their dogs die in them because they're like gross and there's like negligent, right? Like,
yeah, I wasn't going to try and
definitely goes both ways. I mean,
I wasn't going to try and argue that to them because I didn't want to stir that pot.
No,
right?
But I'll do that right now because they're not here. No, I'm just kidding. It goes back to that thing, right? Whenever, like, I kind of think about it like, I know you guys didn't ride the bus as much as I did whenever we were children. Yeah. But, like, on the bus, this story will kind of illustrate why you didn't ride the bus as much as I did. Like, the buses, it used to be, like, a free-for-all zone, right? So, like, whenever there was a disagreement, right, you would just get punched in the face. That was it. Someone said something you didn't like, you would just get punched. That was it. That was it. Nothing else. So it's kind of the opposite of this retreat into the online sphere of, I'm an anonymous person. I can post things like, on the school bus, you got punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like that's a very, like, me being old man being like, back in my day, bro. But, like, to a certain extent, it's true. Like you said, there's no consequences. Like, in real life interactions, there's consequences, rightly or wrongly. Sometimes these things escalate into places where they ought not be because they're very, they don't. A lot of arguments don't deserve to resort to physicality. Most of them don't at all. Right?
No.
There is a quote by somebody that says that should be your last resort, and if you've gotten that, you failed as a person, right? But it still happens. Like, sometimes we fail. That's okay. Stop shouting at people on the internet. I know that sounds weird as a guy talking on a podcast on the internet, right? It's a very contradictory statement.
Well, yeah, but not
talking
really.
About how the internet inflates your importance. Here I am.
Well, and that's funny. I was just took the kids to the playground today, and I was talking with a dad that showed up there just because what else are you gonna do when the kids are playing on the playground? And I was asking, he had like 7 kids, and I made a joke.
Aaron, are you picturing Collin just like sitting on the bench, chilling with some random dude?
A box of chocolate. I'm like, right. Collin, come on.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I just want to make sure we're the same mental weight.
I bet you Collin opened up with the phrase, "Man, this weather, huh?" Like,
I bet. No, I did. I didn't. I opened with.
Is it also weird that in my mind you're in Sequoia Park?
Yeah. I was also kind of picturing that as well.
Okay. I thought you might be. Anyway.
So step 1, I drove down to Secret Park in a van today.
Yes.
No, I asked how old his daughter was, because that's what grown-ups talk. That's what parents talk about when you don't know anything else to talk about.
Your kid?
Yeah.
How old are they?
Anyway,
don't lead with that. Don't lead with, "Hey, how old's your kid? And did you see my van over there?" Don't put those two in the same sentence.
Got a pretty sweet van over there, don't I? Anyway, how old's your kid? No. I was asking him about, he said he had 7 kids, and I laughed and then said, it's great. I'm sure it's great how they all get along then, isn't it? And he laughed and he said, "Oh no, not ever." And he was telling me that his 2 youngest sons were boxing in the garage with a little punching bag. And the dad was like, "Now remember, don't hit each other in the face. No face hits." And he said, obviously that lasted about 13 seconds, where the younger one turned and just slammed in the older one's face. And the older one, and then the older one looked at his dad, and his dad went, "Well, I did say no hits to the face, so there should probably be a consequence." And the older brother just turned around and just wailed on the younger brother. brother, and the younger
But
brother
not
was
in the face.
not on the face, right? Exactly. And the younger brother was like, "Why'd you let him do that? That's not fair." And he was like, "You hit him in the face. You broke the rules. These are your consequences." And I was like, "Exactly. Like that is a wonderful lesson of." You don't follow the rules, there are consequences. And secondly, the more people should have been punched in the face when they were younger to get past what they're dealing with now.
Well, see, it goes both ways because either that or they got punched in the face too much.
Too much, sure.
And it's
Yes,
overgone the other
obviously.
way. So, like,
Yes.
there is a balance here, but that is the other option that could have happened. So you can't you can't broadly say that, Mr. Generalization Man.
Anyway, everybody's wrong who doesn't agree with me, and that's stupid.
Well, it kind of sounds like Brandon when we used to get the snow gloves and box in the living room.
Yeah,
Remember doing that?
forgot
Kind of.
about that.
Colin immediately started like, "Well, these kids were boxing in the garage," and I'm like,
I
Brandon myself boxed in the living room, but continue.
forgot that happened.
Yeah, the big little snow gloves.
Yes.
Yeah, that
What a terrible idea that was.
Yeah, right.
or playing tackle football in the living room next to the brick fireplace. That seemed
That's
like
fine.
a safe idea.
That's fine. I had stitches in my eye. Not stitches when I was a kid from the fireplace. So I realized it wasn't that bad. It'd be okay. You'd be fine.
Got stitches from a corner wall. Does that count?
I don't know what happened. That was us.
That's not a
We
real
weren't
story.
there. I wasn't there.
Nope. I was very busy outside, far
Yeah,
away at a friend's house.
Definitely cleaning my room like I was supposed to be.
Yep.
For those of you who are listening out there, this one has a massive Harry Potter scar of his forehead, where the allegations are that we were supposed to be cleaning our room, and someone, I don't know who, head dove into the corner wall. Or upstairs.
Now, hold on. Let's back up.
Wait a
here.
minute. Yeah, there's
Let's back
you
Let's
jumped
back
to the ending.
So, yeah, you jumped to the ending. Not the part where you willingly participated in the construction of a slip and slide out of bedspreads in the hallway.
We should also note that you were what? How old were you with this? Like how? Like 5?
I don't remember.
4 or 5.
I
4 or 5?
was
Okay.
supervised by older children who should have known better.
You were a willing participant. You were giggling and laughing and having a grand old time
Right up until all the blood.
until
started
that
flowing.
part where the blanket got caught around your foot and you tripped and you dove into the wall.
Yes.
Head first into the corner of the wall.
It's not our fault that our upstairs hallway was perfect when you lined it with blankets and sheets that you could jump on a pillow and surf down it. That's not our fault of how physics works. Except for whenever it gets caught, and you go flying into the corner.
The corner
Do we-
we did not anticipate the corner becoming such a problem.
Do I also need to bring up the fact that there's also a crescent-shaped scar on my forehead from when someone took the extension to the vacuum cleaner and chucked
Not
it
me.
perfectly at
Not
my
me.
head?
Not me.
Does this ring a bell?
No, again, it's just shockingly how much
Definitely
I don't remember
Collin.
about that.
Definitely.
It was a really cool throw. Okay, we were chasing each other.
I did have that
Through the
thought
living
when
room.
it was screaming
And-
at my face. I'm like,
and-
that's a really good throw. Wham!
And I was ahead of him, and I stopped, and I turned. I just, threw it at him as hard as I could, and those old plastic extensions for the vacuum just tumbled end over end and landed squarely on Aaron's forehead. And it was pretty cool. The punishment afterwards wasn't. Speaking of consequences, the punishment sucked, but for that brief moment, you felt like you were a superhero.
chucked the thing at my little brother's forehead. Well, so that kind of, I don't know why that reminded me, but I was on Colin, this is when I texted you the other day, or Snapchatted you. I was on an investigation, and I was just like talking to these people, and this little girl, this itty bitty little creature, came up and like hugged me. And I was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And then she kicked me in the shin, and then like dove off the porch, like the back, like the front porch or whatever it is, like into a bush. And I was like,
"Oh my!"
and like the parents were sitting there, and having a little DHS tag, and I'm like, I can't compute what just happened. And they were like, she does that. And I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like limping away.
That?
That's amazing.
It was adorable because I was like, oh, hi, small creature. Ow, why? And then just dove headfirst off into a bush. And I'm like,
Maybe she became offended when you referred to her as a creature.
well, I didn't say
She
that.
didn't
But
like
I was
that.
like, oh, hello, small person.
Oh,
This
yeah.
little tiny person. Ow, my shin. And then just, meh.
Maybe she didn't like your condescending tone. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, maybe.
It was
Maybe.
4:00 in the morning. What am I supposed to do?
True. Fair. All right.
Like, hello, small person.
Goodness.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with any humans, outside humans, that is, for the next week because I'm going down to Oklahoma City tomorrow. Again. So,
Oh,
yay.
Oh,
yes.
more training.
What is this? Is this
last week?
What is this? Oh, is
This
week
is
3 or 4?
Technically 3 because
Okay.
last week I was back up at the office because they give you a quote unquote break, and to which I was
Well,
pretty much doing the exact same thing I was doing before I left down there. So nothing really changed.
Yeah, but you weren't driving to Oklahoma City, so that's bonus.
Yeah. So I'll go back. I'll leave here about like 5:30 in the morning.
Gross.
Drive down. Yeah, right. But
Extra gross.
yeah, I don't have to deal with other people. It's great. I don't have to deal with the drive and wake up early in the morning. I can just drive normal early, so it'll be fine. I'm having fun. But yeah, I mean that's all I got going on this week, and other activities that I had planned.
What other activities?
No, I'm saying that's the only other activities I have planned.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything to do around here. What are you talking about?
I mean, that's true. In the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. Like what?
Yeah.
You think I go out and do fun things on the weekend? No, I'm literally been sitting in my apartment. Like that's all I have right now.
That can be fun. I did that this weekend or today anyway. It was glorious. I was like,
Yeah,
finally.
I went up and I watched football, and I'm like, man, I'm out. I'm talking to people, and then like was out in public for like 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't want to be back in my apartment. This sucks. I hate people. Look gross. No, old drunk person. I don't want to talk to you. Go away. So,
Where are you going? To see old drunk people.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Where they have football. All the football.
Where they have football. Duh. Didn't you know that?
No.
All football come from Buffalo Wild Wings.
I was unaware that was the originating point of football. I was
1939 when football first started. Came from
Okay.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh,
think,
I didn't know that.
That's quite right.
No,
you're,
I think
you're welcome.
okay.
I think
That
it's
sounds-
a little older than that.
I have a
Seem
degree in
to-
history. Okay,
Seem to remember football history? Is it football history?
Is
I don't-
it?
I feel like it's older because I feel like Teddy
I have-
Roosevelt liked football,
I have
and
a
that he
book
was
somewhere.
definitely pre 1939.
Well, that was
So-
professional football.
You're saying
Oh,
football.
professional football was 1939.
You just
Yeah.
said football. You were not clear.
You meant what I knew. It doesn't.
Oh, I did not because I was thinking like collegiate football, which is the best one to watch because nobody's got time to watch professional football.
So, that gets me out to why I was actually being
Assaulted.
social. I wanted to watch Oklahoma State play,
It's
and
the Wings, obviously.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I don't know
although
why
I
you would
had-
go to Buffalo Wild Wings and not order wings. That doesn't make sense.
well,
you
I
order
had
wings?
I had chicken
Literally nothing else on the menu.
What?
Um,
You ordered what?
chicken dinners.
Naturally.
Not chicken wings.
Well, I did that last week, so I had to mix it up, and so shut up. So I got to Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm like, man, I'm gonna watch Oklahoma State play. I'm like, oh, Kansas State's gonna play. This is gonna be perfect. Both of those channels on DirecTV were experiencing technical difficulties and were that what is it called? Like the snowy, glitchy channels, like for high definition. And so I watched for all 4 quarters, like the top 1/3 portion of a TV to catch like part of the football game. Like I was miserable. I was like, I'm out. I'm talking to people. This is fine. The TV is not on, but it's whatever. I'm here. That's all that matters. And then, like in the 3rd quarter, it completely went dead, and so I had to go watch like some random team play the whole time. I'm like, today sucks.
Sorry for your suffering.
Having to watch your non-favorite team play.
Yes.
But no, that's all I did. Like, again, there's not really a whole lot to do around here.
True.
Well, Brandon, I've been playing Greedfall, and my heart keeps breaking.
Why?
Because it's a good game. Don't get me wrong. But like I just want more out of it.
Now,
it doesn't give me more.
I agree. That might be true. But I feel like I don't know, there's something about that game that just hit me right, and I like it. I don't know why. You're right. Sometimes you're like, this is weird, and it's wonky, and it's like a little bit janky sometimes. But I don't care. I really like that game.
I don't know if it's like the combat system or just the way the game flows.
Might be that.
But
flow is a bit weird. Well, again, I have a hard time with that because I'm like, ooh, side quest, what? And I just go off and do things. That's how I live my life in video games. I just like, ooh, side quest, hello.
Like I don't like how the map is set up. And
see, I thought it was interesting. I like the map. It's different. It's not just like a giant open map because I would never explore that whole entire thing, right? So like controversially statement of the day. I like that it's broken up that way because in a game like The Witcher, right, where they give me this ginormous map, or more recently when I played Red Dead Redemption 2, like the map is enormous. I never go to all of it ever because most of the time there's not a reason to, right? There's certain areas in the map that you just never visit because there's no missions there. Every once in a while you go, oh, what's over there? And you ride over there and there's like nothing. So you just leave. Right.
There's a level 26 monster and you're only level 14.
Well, but like in The Witcher, I mean, but there's certain areas in that game where there's like nothing. And in Red Dead Redemption 2, you go over there, it looks cool, but there's nothing there. So like when you break it up into a series of like smaller maps like that, I was kind of like, I was more prone to explore areas because I was like, ooh, what's over here? Oh, it's a chest I can't get to. And I like, excuse me. The one thing I do like that game does different is the leveling system. I like that they have the skills and the talents and all that stuff split up where you don't get points for certain things every level.
Yeah.
Right. So like your leveling choices matter. You know what I mean? You have to pick your, I don't remember what they're called. They're like skills, talents, and
something else,
whatever. And so like you get the one every level, like your just normal skill point or whatever. But then like your talent points are like every 3 levels. And then you're like trade, I don't remember what it's called, every 4 levels. Yeah. So like it's important which ones you pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like certain RPGs where like by the end of the game you're just good at literally everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Right? Like those choices that you made to specialize in that area are valuable and they're for something. So like naturally I went a little like all in on the playing a diplomat thing, and so like I had the charisma like maxed out, or I had like the intuition like maxed out because I wanted all those dialogue choices to do all that stuff because they give you cool stuff when you do the dialogue thing, right? So I thought that was interesting, and I thought it was very, I don't know, the
like
story is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
like there's some weird stuff in there. I also just really like the fantasy setting that's not like medieval. For some reason, that just hit me as like, dude, that's cool.
like
Collin, it's like a 1700s fantasy setting, right?
Oh, that's very different. What from
Yeah.
the
So
usual take.
basically, this game. Sorry, Collin, we're leaving you out of this conversation. This game is basically,
cool.
there is this like fictionalized land, right? And there's people there, and they've discovered a new continent to which they will travel now, and they want to do so because there is a sickness affecting their land, right? They call it like the Malachor or something. I don't know, some weird made up. It's very early, like 1700s. Like it's really cool. It's like this very like the art. Whoever designed, I don't know. I don't look it up. Whoever did the art design for that game, they're awesome. They're like totally amazing. Like the stuff in this game is great. And it's a very cool, like that time period plus like fantasy aesthetic happening. Because there's like magic and like there's weird things happening, right? Sure. So then they go to this island and there's like native people there who are like magical and do like nature magic things. It's very druidy, right? It's kind of cool. And so there's like a conflict between these three different like colonial groups of people. Like one is like a very like science oriented one. One is a very like, the one that you're with is like a merchanty one, trade merchant thing. And the other one's like a very religious group, right? And then there's the native islanders, and they're trying to like balance out living on this new island altogether, trying to figure out how it works and stuff. So some of the like subtext, a lot of it's subtext, I think. I might have been reading too much into some of this, but I was like, dude, this is kind of cool, right? Like the way that they have to interact and like do stuff, and like you have to like, you know, it kind of steers you sometimes into certain, like you don't have to. You could totally just like stab people in the face. Doesn't matter. Like, yo, I've got to like do this thing for these people because they're my allies, but I don't agree with what they're doing, so I have to like, you know, switch it up a little bit. Like, it's very cool, right? I think it was cool. Yeah. And then there's this other side group who's like the boat people, and they're like all the knots or whatever. They're cool. I liked it.
Yeah, they're all awesome. Nothing but like ships and things. And like they have like really sweet face tattoos everywhere. It's like it's a very fascinating game. Like I like the time period.
I love the time period and the setting. I want more historical fantasy that's not high fantasy. Anybody has any recommendations for me? I need to know this because this sounds awesome.
And like I love the the cosmetics of things, like the art style. The
art style's so good.
The clothing and things that you get to customize and change.
Now, like, are the face animations always great? No, they're not.
No,
that's okay though.
Like that part was a little not like disappointing because I remember seeing the trailers and looking at it and going, oh my gosh, this looks amazing.
Yeah, true. I remember the first trailer. I saw the first trailer. I was like, yo, what?
And then like the first, scene, you have your character and he's being like drawn by that artist person.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like,
It starts off very slow.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
And
where are you right now? How far?
I just got to the island.
Oh, see, now
like
it's just getting good now.
I was piddly dinking around the little town and doing all those little side quests and
Serene. It's called Serene. Yes. That's what it's called.
And so like just trying to get the feel for what I need to be doing.
Yeah. I did the same thing.
And like I kind of got it, except for I was a lot more what's a good word? Like, hey, let's try to sneak in here. I'm like, you mean walk up to the front gate and attack them? Oh, okay. Like that was kind of my
you gotta get a little
philosophy.
Yeah, no, you gotta get practice about what it wants from you.
Yeah, and so like
now I will tell you the stealth is kind of not good.
Yeah.
There are a couple of times where stealth mode is important. It does that big, like it puts the eye over them, and then it,
Yeah.
like, yeah, right. But it's okay.
And so, like, just trying to develop kind of like a play style. But I don't know if I was, because again, I was playing like The Witcher for, hours. And just kind of the fluidity of everything. And I didn't really get that feel from the game.
Well, the
just
combat, I would say the combat is not too dissimilar from The Witcher because it's not like complex.
Yeah, I mean, it's very,
not like,
very simple.
Yes.
But I just didn't
And The Witcher's
get
the same way.
Yeah, I just didn't get that feel of it's very fluid.
Now, you got to get, once you get some more skills unlocked, you'll have many more combat options to choose from. So there are not only blunt and edged weapons, there's also heavy versions of each one.
Yeah.
So like two-handed maces, like clubs, or like Zweihanders, basically.
Yeah.
As well as guns and magic. I don't know if you went magic mode.
I have not. I've not gotten to magic mode.
There's also, I went magic real late game. I kind of turned into like paladin-y, right? Because I was two-handed heavy weapon for sure.
Yeah.
With like support magic, right? That's what I did. But like, there's also like gun. There's also all kinds of other combat things you can kind of. The combat menu is actually very deep if you get into there. There's like a million shortcuts you can add to that thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty much rocking with a hammer and my pistol.
Yeah,
and like just the combat feel itself. Like I know it's good and I like it, but it's just not very, flowy. But man, I still
you have to unlock the dodge roll. That's in there.
A dodge roll?
Yeah, you have to, it's in the skill tree. You have to unlock it.
Well,
and there's a roll in there. And when you start doing combat with the companions, it's better.
Oh yeah,
because you get two people with you all the time.
Yeah, and so I've kind of been rocking with some of those people.
Now I will say the enemy variety, not the best.
Yeah,
a lot of them are like four-legged monster things.
Yeah,
just like different shapes.
Yeah,
but then every once in a while there's some like giant thing. You're like, what? Okay, so it's a little better. But like, again, I was like roaming around all the time, looking like every little nook and cranny. So I fought the same thing like a million times in a row. But
yeah. So I'm just kind of trying to get a feel for like the map. But yeah, I just got to the island. I did a lot of the quests like in the city. And then like, all right, I'm going to be adventurer. And then just I get rocked by like some giant sheep thing. I'm like,
oh yeah, the giant sheep thing, man. Charge, I think
this isn't fun. And so I haven't played it.
You can also, don't forget that you can do the parry thing with the B button or whatever, or circle button, I guess, in your case, if you're playing on PlayStation.
Yeah.
You can parry a lot of attacks. Sometimes you can parry animal attacks. So that's
that would have been nice to know.
Yeah, spoilers. You can do that. That's handy. Because until you get that dodge, sometimes you're like, oh, snap. How am I get out of the way of that? I'm stuck.
So I kind of want to take this just a little bit because I don't have a whole lot to contribute to this Greedfall conversation. It's very good. But I kind of want to talk about our histories and experiences with video games because I think all three of us kind of have a different pathway into or perception of them. And, for me, I know that some of my earliest video games were Nintendo 64 and the Atari 100 down in the basement that we played with, down there.
2600. Thank you.
2600? Yeah, yes. Not the 100. Yeah. Sorry. Again. The Atari 2600 and messing with the input switcher on the top of the TV there and getting on channel 4 or 3 or whatever. And
forgetting which button it was.
Forgetting totally which one it was. And so for whatever reason, my memories of video games is predominantly with like the setup and getting to it. And then kind of once it started to get into the Sega, when we got the Sega Genesis, I played that a little bit. I think I tried to play like the Sonic game, and was it Flipper? Did we have a game with a dolphin?
Echo.
Definitely Echo the Dolphin, the hardest video game ever created. The game is impossible.
Okay. So I think even by that time, it was starting to wane on me as far as like video games. And then when we got the PlayStation, I would play Metal Gear Solid and do the cheat codes to be the massive tank or the clown car or the ice cream truck, right?
Oh,
Twisted Metal.
Twisted Metal. Okay, yeah, not Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Twisted Metal. That's what. And Metal Gear Solid was different. I was like, what?
Yeah,
there was a giant tank in there. There's a Metal Gear in that
Metal
tank.
Gear Solid.
And then I think honestly, like that was probably the last really big, just like video game thing that I've played. And even now, I'll try and download apps or whatever games on my phone, and they just don't stick. And I'm sitting here listening to you guys talk, and I'm trying to think about like why did my brain go one way, and what kind of experiences did I had? Because I love watching you guys play video games. That's perfectly fine. It's for whatever reason, it's hard for me to get in that mode of sit and play video games. So I did want to hear from you guys what that's like, because my brain's not wired that way.
Brandon, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start with one. Well, okay, so number one, this will be answer number one. I think so like starting out, like those early games, they're all very like skill based, right? Like jump at this like time, like timing wise, or like things like that, like Mario and Sonic and those weird, like the like with the Aladdin and the Lion King, right? You remember those ones with the Sega?
Oh yeah.
They're very like skill arcadey, right? Like timing based and things like that. And so I found that was fun. Like that part is fun for certain games, right? That part is interesting. The other thing that carried me a lot through after that was just like playing with my friends a lot, because we played other games that were like similar vein with your friends. So like racing games I loved, not like all like Gran Turismo. I played Gran Turismo a lot when I was a kid. Gran Turismo 2 specifically, and the Tony Hawk video games, because there is that skill level, right? It's skill based, like, so it's a point value thing. And the racing games are similar too, because like compared to the ones that I have now, like I have the Forza Horizon, right? The one, what is it, 4.3? I don't remember. It's behind my computer. I can't look at it right now. But it's like a open world racing through the English countryside, right? It's dope. It's got season changing. It's awesome. Anyway, it's very skill-based driving game. So that's one of the things. Like that mechanic, like trying to master the mechanics of the video game is the one thing that's interesting. Like that's why I like to play Dark Souls too. I mean, Dark Souls 1 is better in my opinion, but like I also like all of them, right? Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 are good. They're similar. They're very mechanically driven.
Okay.
Right? It's very much timing, attack timing, dodge timing, block timing, parry timing, all this stuff. It's very like skill oriented. And so that's one of the draws, I feel like, that way. It's just that like feedback of, I screwed this up. How do I do this? How do I get better at this one? And not all games have that, which is why sometimes I also bounce off games. I'm like, this one's really not for me, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my first, I think, answer to that. Aaron?
Kind of what got me into video games? Or just kind of... I'm trying, because there's a lot of things flowing through my head. I'm just trying to figure out which one to kind of go
just start with everyone's on top.
Yeah.
So kind of like what kind of got me into games was, watching, Brandon play, Final Fantasy VII, and then me in my little brain, like, I can do that. And then I try to like play the first mission. I'm like, this game's bullcrap. It's hard. And so just trying to like like, oh, this is like my brother can do it, I can do it, and then my wee little tiny brain not manifesting like how, like, oh, I didn't know I'm supposed to level up. And so just kind of the complexity of like, oh, hey, this is kind of like a little neat little thing. And a lot of the times there's things like, it being kind of like either a fantasy world and that's kind of what got me into, a lot of historical games, was seeing the things that I read about, seeing the things that I, studied about being manifested in like a little, digital world that I can, like, oh, this is what, medieval Europe at this time or whatever looked like. And so, I didn't really have like that much video game experience when I was still living at home. I played what I could because either that I was at school or, doing some sort of sporting event. I didn't really do a whole lot of stuff outside of school. It wasn't until really college where, had better access to the internet, was able to, watch people play video games for like a living. And I was just like, whoa, that's like really cool. Like people actually do this like full time. And I was never that good at playing video games, but just being able to kind of, see what other people do and just kind of have like a little like, oh, this is what, ancient Rome looks like kind of thing. So that kind of having that prosthetic to it, be like, okay, well, I've read about it. I've studied it for years. This is what it looks like, not verbatim by any means, but just kind of like, oh, like this looks cool this way. And like
I'm facsimile, right?
Yeah. Like I'm
right.
submerged in this world. But a lot of times, honestly, like there's not really a whole lot for me to do here, so I don't have a lot of options. I do have a lot of books I need to read, but I was never really into like, the hardcore shooting games. Like those just never really interested me. What Brandon was talking about earlier with like the Aladdin, the Lion King, like those platforming games, like those were fun, but they didn't click for me until I was older. But I really got into kind of strategy games, and instead of just being a brute force kind of thing. Although I will admit, me playing like Pokemon Gold, whenever I first got into Pokemon, I for some reason my brain could not put two and two together that, oh, a fire Pokemon is damaged by a water Pokemon. Brr. And so I was just like, bludgeon my Pokemon until I win. And so just kind of
there's a lot to be said for power leveling in the forest, right? It's fine.
Right.
True.
But just kind of having that, ability to kind of say like, oh, hey, what are some other ways to get around this? Like there's more than one way to accomplish something, like either in the real life or in video game world. And so I kind of drew to those kind of games a lot because I was like, oh, there's more than one way to do it. And then I'd get frustrated and be like, this game's bullcrap. And then I'd go in guns blazing and be like, kill everything.
So that's what's really interesting to hear about, because Brandon, you were saying like having that skill set and that mechanic, mastering the mechanics.
Yeah.
And Aaron's over here going the strategy and the multi-way of solving a particular problem. And when in a video game or in something, when I would encounter a skill that I didn't have that was hard, or I didn't have a strategy to solve, I couldn't solve the strategy or couldn't come up with another way, I just stopped playing and would like, okay, well, this is as far as this game exists for me. And so, why is it that you guys continue to push past that?
Now, some games, it's like, if it's mechanically sound and it's fair, like it's worth trying it again, right? There's some games that are badly made, and like if you can't win, it's not your fault. It's that the game is like messed up, right?
Yeah.
So that, especially in the early games, that was a thing that you would encounter, right? Like and that you would bounce off that really hard because like no matter what you did, you would just lose. You're like, what the heck? This doesn't make sense. Like when the feedback doesn't match what you're giving it, like when you have no like feedback of what you're doing wrong, then yeah, it's like, what the heck? But like other times, you could see what you're doing. You're like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. Right? Like I understand what's happening here. Like Dark Souls is another really good example of this because there's some boss fights in that game. They're just like, what? What the crap? Like the Ornstein and Smo boss fight. The first time I played that, I was like, nope, never gonna beat this ever. It's all of a sudden that game they're like, oh, here's two independent people that are attacking you from like different areas, and they have these different attacks, and it's like insane. Your arena's all weird. There's like pillars everywhere. It's nuts, right? They're really crazy. And they love to, no matter what people tell you, they love to like stick together. Like they don't want to separate apart. So you can't like isolate one. You've got to really, it's like a timing thing. You're like, I got to hit one. Ornstein. You always hit Ornstein first. Get him out of the way.
Is he the big one?
No, he's the small one with the spear.
Oh, okay.
You hit him, you roll out of the way. Because if you try to stay there and punish him, Smo is going to crash his hammer on your head and you'll be killed. Right? So you got to hit and get out. Right? And try to get them in this thing. So, but after a while, there's something that clicks in your brain and go, oh, I get it. Because the first time you do that, it's impossible. Right? It's like, I have no idea what's happening. I just played it last week and just like one attempt beat him, was gone to the next boss. Like didn't matter. Right? It was like whatever. So it's if it's designed well and there's like positive feedback about what's happening, then yeah. Some of those games on Atari, you just like lose. You're like, why? What happened?
Yeah.
I lose. That's why I don't like fighting games. Because I feel like a lot of times I feel like that when in a fighting game. I'm like, what do you mean I lost? I didn't like these button inputs I did nothing and I died. Like
didn't we have Tekken because of you? Isn't that what we had, like,
I didn't have we didn't have Tekken. My friend had Tekken. We played at his house.
Okay.
And like it was okay when I faced other people, but like fighting when you like do the fighting game, like nah. I just
like the story mode.
Yeah. And sometimes even when I fought other people on the fighting games, it was just like, I didn't know. I had that same experience with that. Is the input just didn't match what I was trying to get in there.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is why I do like racing games.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ooh, this makes sense. Right? These inputs make very much sense. And I got back into them recently when I bought those Forza games. Because I didn't I don't play them for a long time, and then I'll put one back in and I'll play it for like ever. And then I like don't play it for a while. Because again, it's not like complex, right? But the mechanics are very good and they keep you coming back. Right. So
there's a kind of like it's very satisfying and fulfilling when you're able to when those two things match up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like there's some bosses that like I faced that are, I just keep dying over, and like when I played Fallout 4 for the first time, or just like any of the Fallout games, like trying to come up against like a Deathclaw, me being like a level 2 with a little varmint gun and Fallout New Vegas. Like I didn't know what I was doing. But after, like, oh, I'm going to go level up. Like, oh, I'm going to get this. And it was more of me being vindictive. Like this creature killed me 20 times. Like I'm going to come back and I'm going to, like, I finally beat it. And just...
Now that's a second mechanical thing that we have not discussed yet. The RPG mechanics of like leveling, right? Like that is satisfying in and of itself when you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to level up like this. Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do these specific things to make my character better. When there's like some kind of skill tree involved, right? Where you pick like
a pathway to go through.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like games like that more instead of just straight up shooting games, is because like this is my character. Like,
yes.
This is like some way, shape, or form an extension of me. That like, oh, I created this. This is what I kind of like to do, and this is kind of how like my
it adapts to what you want to do in the situation, right?
Yeah,
and you can kind of adapt it to how your play style. Basically, is what the kind of thing
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah.
and also just going in like, ooh, what is good for, like, how can I do better at this? And like that like mental gymnastic game of, ooh, what can I level up now? What can I do for this? What else do I need to put these points into? Like,
Yeah.
do I need to do more of this one, or should I invest in this other skill? Would that help? Like, that kind of like thought process is just fun, I guess. I don't know if it's like, it's kind of enjoyable, right? Because it's like that balancing skill.
So do you think? Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
No, go ahead, guy.
No, I was just interesting. So do you think that interest in building that tree and pathway, is that a result of like games that you've played, or is that just scratching a mental itch that you have that is how you see the world, or gives you some satisfaction?
I think part of it is like excuse me, the first time I encountered that, like a lot of people, like the first time that really hit me, like I ever encountered that mechanical thing, was definitely Final Fantasy VII, right? Like a lot of people have this similar experience. It's a very touchstone moment in a lot of people's lives. They played Final Fantasy VII and they went, oh, what? Right? It's like before it was all like, racing and skateboarding and like action-y games, right? Even like Medieval, right? Which they're remaking, by the way, Aaron. You got to get that. It's very like action oriented, right? Do. I'm running around, I'm hitting things, whatever. And then you hit this JRPG completely out of left field, different thing, and you're like, what is this? Right? It was so completely different from anything I ever played before. I was like, what? This is amazing. Like, it hit me pretty hard, like just the mechanics of it, like trying to wrap my brain around, like, what do all these things mean? What is this? What is this stuff? Like, anytime you play a new RPG like that, there's always this learning curve of what is this? Wow. Like Aaron was talking about Greedfall. There's a little bit of it in there. But you look at these menus and you're going, I don't understand what these are. What do they want? What does this mean? Like, how does this function? So there's like a decoding process that has to take place first before you can really get in there.
Yeah.
But that after you kind of get into it, you're like, oh, okay, I'm in, like, and you can kind of do that. And I think that was the first game that I realized, whoa, this is different. This is like new. Like, it's all this crazy stuff to dive into and not just like run around and hit stuff with sword. Right. It's like different.
I remember reading, I was reading something and I was also watching a video about it, but it was talking about like the importance that the Legend of Zelda series was, because like they came out during the time of it was either like a platform game or it was a very like, shoot this block here or whatever. But the importance of kind of with those games, it's like, oh hey, here's a dungeon. Try to get out, like, and you kind of have to yourself figure out the puzzle. Yeah, that there's, at the time when it first came out, there was no walkthroughs, there was nothing, and so people trying to come out like, well, how do I get out of here all by myself? Like things like that were just fun, astronomical just to even think about. It's like, wait, I have to do this myself? Wait a second, what?
Yeah, and that was definitely a game that I bounced off of the first time I played it. Was the like first Zelda games on the Nintendo. I was like, what? I don't even understand what's happening. This doesn't make any sense. Like now, if you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, there's a very formula to Zelda now. Yeah. After you've seen like 100 Zelda games. And I haven't really played. I think I've only ever played like one. I've watched people play them and stuff. But like, I just kind of bounced off it hard because at first it was so different. I was like, something didn't click with me with Zelda. I just didn't, I didn't. Yeah. It didn't do that thing. It didn't do it for me, and I wasn't in the right zone for that to understand what it was trying to do. I was like, I was too young, maybe. I don't know, but I was like, what? I don't know. Whatever.
It's hard. Yeah, but there's a lot of those games that kind of reach out beyond the scope of normal gaming, and it's kind of like with those games, or just some of those fantasy games that kind of drew me in, that were like, hey, this is a completely different world. This is something that I'm not accustomed to, or this is something that's like, oh, this is new and shiny. Like, what is this? And so I really got into like, and just what we were talking about earlier with the character development and stuff, but like games like Skyrim, like, yeah, it's very medieval-esque, but like this is a whole new ball game that I've been playing. I've never really played a game like this, and that's why I was so developed into a game like Skyrim or The Witcher.
I love Skyrim so much. Mm-hmm.
Or like the Halo games. Oh my gosh. I don't know why, but I just like games like, yeah, it's a shooting game, but I just was so enveloped in the gaming atmosphere. And the one thing that goes beyond that is like the gaming culture. Like that I want to go to Comic-Con so badly. And because of just like the people who also kind of like, yeah, I wasn't normal growing up in high school, like by any means. And so just going to a place that's like, hey, there's more people like me. Like, you're not so different, little buddy. Like, oh. And so.
Well, I think you're starting to touch on number 2 for me. Part 2 of this answer is they're a storytelling medium. Just like a book or a movie. A lot of them, right? Not all of them. Or like Tetris. Yeah. Tetris is not a storytelling medium. Forza Horizon, not a storytelling medium, right? It's that mechanical thing. But like a lot of the other ones that I like, and Aaron mentioned, like Skyrim or The Witcher. Good gravy, The Witcher. Oh my god. Like the story in that game is so good.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like the Red Dead Redemption series. Oh my gosh. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 will make you cry. You'll just bawl. You will. I'm telling you, you're just like, oh, my soul hurts right now. Like,
oh.
So there's certain games where part of it is just, it's the storytelling, right? Whether, so that falls into 2 categories. There's that RPG storytelling, like Skyrim and Fallout, or like other games where it's more vague, right? Like Outer Worlds. I want to play that game. That's on my list. I'm going to buy that soon.
Yeah.
Where you are, there's like stories that you're involved in the side quests and stuff, but you're kind of helping develop them. The order you do things and all that stuff. You're writing the story kind of as you're going. It's very first person experience, right?
Yeah.
Versus the other aspect of heavily scripted storytelling, a la The Witcher, right? They have laid out this story. There's a whole entire world there that you are in, and experiencing the story from that point of view.
Yeah.
And that's very appealing. Like I like, that's why Halo is so good, because the story behind Halo is interesting, right? It's mechanically good. It's graphically good. The story driving the game is like important, and it's like pushing you forward, right? So I think that's the other reason. In some games, again, do this well. Other games don't do it well at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so there's that storytelling aspect does that. And like the little things that they throw at you. Again, Red Dead 2. Oh my gosh. Man, I can't even. It's so good.
It's kind of like with do you remember LA Noire?
Oh my gosh, I love LA Noire so much.
Yeah. Like,
I don't even know.
It's kind of it kind of skirts around that it's like, you're an investigator, you have to be involved with the story or you're not going to get like the right responses. But I was trying to remember, I'm looking at all my little gaming thingies.
So good. I love
that. What we're talking about, what were we talking like one time, like the Overwatch series.
Yes.
So it's it was like a hero based kind of strategy, a lot of shooting, but like the story that goes behind a lot of the characters, like the backstories, like that just makes me want to play that game even more. Like,
that's why I like Assassin's Creed, right? The stories in that game are insane. Like the last one, Odyssey, like it was that was the best one ever.
I have that game, but I haven't played that yet.
Stop what you're doing. Why when you get done with this?
Well, no,
do that.
Aaron has to go to sleep because Aaron has
That's
to
fair.
be up at 5 o'clock.
That's fair.
And I can't start games like that because then I'll be up for like 12 hours.
It's true.
Being
It's
like,
so long. But yeah, the story in that game is so good. Like, I mean, it's not Red Dead Redemption good, but it's good. It's good for Assassin's Creed because they're but like they're getting better. I like that one a lot. Even a game like Dark Souls, like the story in that's another reason that game is intriguing.
yeah,
The storytelling in that game is so weird. Like, it's all delivered to you through item descriptions and like very sparse character dialogue.
yeah.
It's very, very strange. So
I'm
the world they build up to you and present to you, you have to like, you can play that whole game. You don't have to watch any cuts. There's like 4 cutscenes in the whole game. Like boss, they're just like, here comes the boss. So they're not really important. You can just skip it, right? There's an opening cutscene, and you'll be like, what? War with dragons? Okay, whatever. And then you can beat the whole game. It doesn't matter. Or if you like read the stuff in that game, you have to like open the menu. If you find a thing, read the description, and then you get these like vague details about what happened. And you're like, what? What is this? I don't understand. And then there's all kinds of videos online about this if you're interested in Dark Souls lore, right? I am not VatiVidya, right? VatiVidya is not my name. So he does it way better than me. But the interesting part that doesn't get brought up, that's my favorite thing, is like, so all of this is like very vague. It all happened a long time ago, right? And then in the very first game, they sort of gloss over this. They introduce a lie to you. And you know about it because you do the thing, right? But there's so much lore built up in this that like this happened. So spoilers for Dark Souls, if anybody's interested. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
They tell you like the knight Artorias fought and banished the abyss, this black mass that was, overcoming the town, right? It's the evil, the essence of evil from Manus, the father of the abyss, right?
Yeah.
That's the lore, that Artorias fell fighting the abyss. Very courageous. Yes. He was one of the Knights of Gwyn, the Knights of the good side, maybe. And then they did this. In the game, you find out what actually happens is through some weird time travel shenanigans. That Artorias was fighting, and he was corrupted by the abyss and became evil, and you had to kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was said that in the legends, like Artorias saved the lady, like Princess Ulasil or whatever, right? But it was actually you. But in the rest of the games, they mention like, oh, Artorias, blah blah, Vanisher of the Abyss, blah blah, and it was you that did it. And so, like, even though like there's all this vague lore and stuff, the fact that there's one lie in there, like anytime anybody ever tells you anything else, you go, wait, what?
Oh, because you've got
How
to
do I
start
know?
thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to question it because you know that
different.
Artorias did not save her. He was corrupted, and you killed him. So, like, in the third game, there's this whole cult that's like, oh, Artorias, right? They have the Abyss Watchers. They're just like him. They do the thing, right? They're based on his design or whatever because they venerate Artorias' bravery, but he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So there's this, like, very vague, like, so yeah, storytelling elements is my other one, right? Like, the way that their stories are presented to you and the interactivity of them, like, yeah, I think that's the other thing that like draws me into certain games where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to know. Like The Witcher, again, The Witcher. Oh my lord! Like, I got to get to the end of this game. I'm saving, do whatever. Like, like, you know.
There's one game that I'm looking through all my games that I have with me right now, but it was kind of like the first game just like story wise that I remember a game that did this to me. So in Gears of War 3,
yeah, Gears is really
where Dom dies.
Wow,
You remember that
spoilers
part?
for Gears 3.
Wow.
Sorry.
Jeez, Aaron.
Spoilers for a way old game. Sorry.
So you go through this with this character for like all the other games up to this point, and
doesn't he break you out of the cell in the very beginning of the first one?
Yeah, he's the first guy that you meet.
He's the first guy that gets Marcus out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so you go through this kind of character arc with him that the guy's looking for his wife after the monsters things. Yeah, that part got me. Where he actually finds his wife, but she's been like tortured, and he has to like shoot her. Yeah, tears. But there's a part where like, even though it's just like an AI, just a character that you can't play, but he's been with you for years. I think the first Gears of War game came out in like 2006 or 2007,
something like that. Yeah,
or 2000. Yeah, but in that area, and so like you've been with this person for so long that you're just like, oh hey, it's another person that's been with me. And there's a scene where you guys are being attacked, and he goes and sacrifices himself, and he dies. And it was literally kind of, I can't remember if it was like the first moment, but I had to like pause the game and set my controller down, and I was just like, what just happened? And it seems so kind of trivial for this guy being a computer person, but like I saw him literally in game 1, game 2. It's a person that I was like that I kind of developed this gaming friendship with. Like, yeah, it's just a character that it's a computer character, but still just like, man, just like that, really? Like, you're gonna tear my heart out and set it on fire? No, that's cool. That's fine. That's what I wanted on a Saturday afternoon. And just kind of having like this game tell a story that I get so developed in with this character that you don't even play. Like, you go through with like in the catacombs of some cave trying to search for his wife that was taken, and that scene where he's holding his wife and just like, and what? Like, this game's a shooting game. I'm not supposed to cry. You're crying.
Yeah, it's true.
And
I'm supposed to chainsaw Locust in the face. Oh,
yeah,
I'm not sad.
Why am I face wet?
All of 3 is really sad though, man. The whole game.
And so
it's like a good way. Like it's like a good. It's well written. That's why you care, right? Like, it's well produced and written, and that the actors do a great job, and so like it's kind of the whole package where it's this storytelling medium, just in a different way. And so that's, I agree. I like that. That's the other aspect that I like. And again, not always done well. So sometimes I'm like, oh, this game's gonna be great, and I play it for a while, and I'm like, this game kind of sucks. Yeah, no, I'm not really. It's kind of like a book, right? You read the first few chapters of the book, and you just go, this is resonating with me at all. I don't get anything out of it. So then you read it, right? It's kind of the same sometimes.
So if you guys could put together a like prescription or a regiment of video games to get somebody from not necessarily, I mean, maybe apathetic and just has a hard time getting into them, to being able to see the beauty and and recognize all the thing you've got mentioned, like mechanics and the culture, the social aspect of playing with other people, and then the storytelling. Like, is there a way to get somebody from one end to the other, or is that just how people are?
Well, so a lot of people play games for different reasons, right? Like, some people play just for the mechanical challenge, right? Like, these are the people that play like professional Overwatch or like speedrun games, right? They're like into the technical challenges of the game, right? Other people play only for the story, so they want storytelling games like what's that one the World War One game that Ubisoft did.
Oh, Valiant Hearts.
Valiant Hearts. They want to play
Yeah.
Valiant Hearts.
Talk about
That game is not
tearjerker.
that game is not mechanically challenging. It's really good though. Like it's a game that's actually made by Ubisoft, based on letters from people in World War One. Right, and then they just put some actions to it. So like, it's not super difficult, but like it's got a challenge to it, obviously, because you want to like be challenged in some way, but not like overtly challenging.
Yeah,
no, like boss fights are crazy. Metal Gear Solid, like sneak around the thing, right? Whatever. But it's beautiful, man. The game's beautifully written and stuff like that. So it just kind of depends on what a person is into, right? I would say it would be better to start with a story. If like they don't like them at all, like zero, I would say start with story elements, because people like TV and movies and books. So I would start there. Something like that. Something that's not too challenging, like mechanically, but like really well written and with a good story that people want to keep playing and experience the story of it first. I would say that would be where to start. Something like that.
I know like a lot of people go into a lot of like the indie games, like the indie game genre.
That's true, because they have a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, and so like there's one game that there's a guy that I worked with, and he kind of had the same thing. He's like, dude, I don't like video games. And I'm like, why don't you try playing this game? And it's called To the Moon. And it's kind of like puzzle
heard of this
story. It's super sad, but it's just like, it's two-dimensional, blocky. Like, it's not really visually appealing, but like the music that goes with it, the story of what like your characters are trying to do, and it's very simple, but it draws you in. And like I like indie games like that. Number one, they're really inexpensive on Steam, and so
that's another. That's good. That's true, because barrier to entry, like if you don't play at all, is like buying them, which is not a cheap endeavor.
Yeah, the new Call of Duty game that came out, $60. I'm like, nope.
Well, and that's on top of the several $100, console that you have.
Well, I got my console for free, so I can't really complain.
What?
My PS4, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because my friends moved, and they're like, "Hey, we can't take our PS4." I'm like, I guess I can take it.
I guess
I guess take over here.
I'll sacrifice myself for everybody. But a lot of things that people get into kind of another reason for me is that some of the games that I play, like the Warhammer series, like the Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K, that there's like deep lore behind it. Like same thing with The Witcher.
So deep.
So much. And so like I love reading the books. I'm looking at 2 massive books right now on my little table. But just reading like the fantasy aspect and then playing the game, like I know who people are, I know kind of what I'm doing, sort of. Game's hard.
Those games are nuts. I can't talk about the games I bounce off of. Anything Warhammer, like nope, I can't deal with that.
I love those games. But it's just kind of like little things like that. Like that's another little nerdy aspect that I have. I'm like I've people say like, oh, this game's great, and I'll be like, well, actually, in the lore in the books, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm one of those people. And so,
or too, sometimes people just need something to sit and idly do, right? Sometimes you just need Stardew Valley, right? You need to plant. You need to plant your crops and pet your dog, and that's it. Go fishing, right? That's what you're gonna do. It's kind of like a very chill.
Yeah, like there's no
having the farm. That's all you do in Stardew Valley. You just hang out, and it's like a very relaxing experience, right?
Because there's some games that are very time oriented, like Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Like you have
game is so weird.
In game 3 days to beat it, and people get rushed doing that, or like there's a lot of games that are constant enemies, like Dynasty Warriors, where it's nothing but like full on fighting in your face all the time.
I loved Dynasty Warriors.
Right? If you
It
just
was
want to,
so like I heard the last one was so bad, and it hurt my heart because I love that story. It's so the games are so cheesy,
yeah.
and like, but in a funny way, like a good way. That it makes me sad that they got bad. Like, oh,
But
I
if
like
If you
silly
just want a
hack and
game
slash.
to just turn your brain off and just like kill thousands of enemies, that's a great game.
Going to be Guan Yu on the bridge. No, Zhang Fei on the bridge. Excuse me.
How dare you with the ancient Chinese culture, Brandon?
I like Guan Yu. What can I say?
But yeah, games like that, and yeah, what Brandon was saying, that depends on the kind of person, which can get you like hooked in, like either you're story oriented or you just want like a nice, easy paced game to go through, or you have a hard day at work, you just want to come home and turn your brain off and kill, play Plants vs Zombies. Like that's a game that it's strategy based, but like, man, I just want to kill some zombies. Blah.
Or you want to play one game for the rest of your life, and you just get WoW and you just go for it. So
that's a game I bounce off of. I can't. I can't do that game. It's fun. I like those MMO, like those games. Yeah, I just can't. I can't do it. My wee little head starts hurting. Like I don't.
Again, that's a lifestyle game, right?
Yeah.
You just play that one. That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you want to do that. That's it. That's all you do because you literally have no time for anything else if you're doing WoW things, right? Like,
and that is a whole nother aspect of that is people who play video games and they go between different ones, and then the people who there's like one, maybe two games, and that's all they play because of the mechanics of how they are structured and those kind of things. So, that's even that spectrum is kind of interesting to think about of what it takes to be that person who's playing WoW 18 hours a day or whatever those people do.
That. I have to play again. I'm very bad in that, like, my personality is like, yeah, I did that one already. So I don't replay games a lot unless they are very like mechanical, like racing games or Dark Soulsy games, like because it's mechanically based. Like I don't play them more than once for the story normally. But again, mostly because a lot of story games are like super long.
Yeah.
Right? Not all of them. There are some very good, short, concise, well-written stories. But like the ones that I like tend to be very long. Yeah. But again, that I find those to be better value, right? Like if I'm going to spend $60 on a console game, do I want to buy like some little short, like, do I want to buy Call of Duty? Because I don't play online. I don't like the social aspect of it, right? I just want to play. I just want to play and chill, right? So if I want to play that, where I can play this game for maybe like the campaign mode usually is like 10 hours, right?
Yeah.
Or do I want to play Outer Worlds, where I'm gonna spend like 100+ hours just like wandering around doing stuff? Yeah, I want that one. That's the one that. Now, every once in a while, after you do that for a long time, you like. At least I do. I crave something like much more concise. Like I just want to shoot something, or I just want to race a car. That's all I want. I don't want like you need to like tone it down a little. I need to like withdraw and tone it down a little bit to something more simplistic, because I'm just like exhausted from that. But like,
that's kind of you get the people that do like the esports that they only play one or two games. They either play they might only play Overwatch because some people do that as a job. Like they play video games. Like the people who like stream on like Twitch or YouTube. Like there's those people, but they play games that are relevant to the games that are popular. But these people who they play what is that game called? But there's like massive tournaments in like Korea and
StarCraft.
StarCraft. I don't know if that's League of Legends, thank you. Like, I know that game is still, or just like the variations of those games, like the hero-based combat, where like I am doing this, like this is my job. I couldn't, it's that, trying to find a challenge aspect of, hey, I'm in a competition to play this game. After I left teaching, there was a position that opened up at one of the universities around here, and it's a esports coach. And I'm like, apply, click. Unfortunately, I didn't get. Yeah, there's esports are super popular. Like they have, like some colleges or universities have teams of esports where, you can get.
I had no idea this existed. Holy cow! What the?
You can get a scholarship to play esports. And I don't know if the NCAA, I don't say sponsors, but you know what I'm talking about.
Surely not. They're not with it enough to. They can barely even handle basketball. They can't.
But yeah, so schools, they get together and they have like a college championship where different universities compete against each other, and that part is so cool. But I don't think I had the aspect, because the only times I played video games, and when I was in college, we had copious amounts of Mountain Dew and a ton of Doritos, and that was our, like, all right, we're gonna play video games, it's a weekend, blah. And so I was just like, I've coached before. Does that, I can apply coaching and Mountain Dew together. Is that what you want? I don't know.
No, you have to understand how Genji works to be that, and nobody knows how that works, so they can't.
Overwatch 2 is coming out, by the way, and I got super excited.
I saw that. I was very confused, and I was like, "What? I thought they were still doing whatever."
Yeah, talking about a backstory, I like getting behind. Like, like I'll send you one later that makes me kind of like choked up, not like choked up, but one that's like, this is really cool. But I'll send you guys the video of it later, because it's like all of the feels. But that goes to people that there's the people who spend time playing like mobile game. Yeah, what am I saying? Mobile games. Of like Candy Crush, or things that are more just kind of like, I would say time wasters. But the games that are like that are attention grabbing, like another game that I was sucked into for the longest time was Geometry Dash. Like that game, I stayed up nights playing that stupid game.
You could have been playing Myst. Think about that.
Yeah. All of this kind of falls in that, like, the will versus skill matrix. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I think Collin just needs a puzzle game.
I think that's what I need. We're like, if you have a high skill and a high will, like, you're going to be way more involved and way more engaged in something, versus if you have a low skill and a low will to be involved. Like, a lot of people do that with like voting and how active they can get people to in, but it really fits in kind of what I'm seeing here of like, there are games, not only games that fall in that spectrum, but also types of video game players of there's that skill side in the spectrum between low and high skill, and whether that skill is learned or honed or innate, that's one thing. And then there's just that desire of where you want to spend that time and how everything falls out in the middle.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate, because not everybody is going to fight Ornstein and Smo enough times to beat them, right? Like, there's not. Like, a lot of those stupid games, like, you have to fight the boss, like, even worse, Dark Souls 3, Frida, right? Did you?
I never played. I never played 3.
Oh my gosh, Sister Frida, with her dirty R1 spamming Scythe of Death. No, like, when you want to beat her, like, that's not like I'm gonna fight this boss a couple times and then beat her. No, it's like forever. Like, you like you're not you're not just waltzing in there and beating her, right? Like in Dark Souls 1, like Gaping Dragon, yeah, that's fine, whatever. You can go ahead and oh hey look, a dragon, whack, okay, it's dead now. But then like Ornstein and Smo, or like Artorias, Manus. Like Manus, you know, just walking into Manus and be like, "Oh, here we go. I'm gonna fight him and beat him in the first." No, that's not how it works. Like you have to like learn how the fight functions, right?
Yeah.
Like how they do the thing, and like when it's safe to attack them versus, oh no, here comes the follow up attack where I become killed. Blam. Right?
Which one's the wolf in one of the Dark Souls games that has like the massive sword?
Sith.
And like you find the story that he's like protecting his fallen master's grave or something like that.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
he's not just doing that. He's fighting you partly because he's protecting his master's grave. But when you beat him, you get the ring that lets you go into the abyss to fight the four kings. Right?
Okay.
So the other sort of inferred thing is he doesn't want to give it to you because he doesn't want you to be corrupted by the abyss either.
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to save you.
So he's trying to save you, but you have to fight him and defeat him to get this ring so that you can go down there and beat them to get this special Lord Soul thing. So that you can go vanquish the former ruler, Gwyn, right?
Okay.
So there's also that little twist of he maybe also knows what you want, and he doesn't want to see you do that because that's what happened to Artorias. He knows. He's a smart wolf.
Saw
Right.
that.
And so you're fighting this giant dog, and it's just like the saddest thing ever. Like nobody likes fighting Sif. Like everybody likes fighting. I mean, everybody that likes Dark Souls, they like the boss fights. They don't like Sif. It's like,
it's sad.
I don't just get it over with. I don't want to do this.
It's kind of like when you play Shadow of the Colossus, and you're like, oh, I have to kill this monster thing to save my girlfriend, but you don't know that until later because it's
messed up.
Yeah, it's sad. You're like, I'm killing giant monster things, and then you're like, oh, I'm killing because the bad people want me to. Now I'm sad.
Spoiler.
And so
Spoilers.
Spoilers for
my bad.
Spoilers for all these super old games like Shadow. That's definitely a PS2 game, so I feel like maybe you're
At
safe.
this point,
People have played that,
Like
but
spoilers for Mario 2, guys.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what Brandon was saying, to each person be their own. That there's sometimes when I get home from work, I like the other day I was out at 3:00 in the morning when it was just pouring down rain and I couldn't get to sleep, and it's like, I just want to play a football game. Like I just want to beat down on the Cleveland Browns and just turn my brain off and just enjoy something. Because another aspect to it is that I remember playing Madden with Brandon, and I also remember playing with Collin, because that was always a nice little, like, what's a word? Like, nice little zen moment. Like, all right, I'm relaxing, I'm having fun with my brothers. But yeah, like the other day, I was like, man, today sucked. I just want to go home and do something that's familiar, aka beat down on the Cleveland Browns.
Sure.
But
you can always enjoy beating up Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't do that? Some days I just want to turn my brain off and things like that. Or there's some times where I'm like, you know what? I just, today's a really good day. I'm gonna pull up Steam and play Warhammer Total War and see what kind of mischief I can get involved in, and see what what puzzly things that can happen. And some people just want a nice, relaxing game. Some people just want to do nothing but shooting games. Some people do it for the socialness of online gaming, which I'm terrible at and don't like doing, because I don't want some little 12-year-old telling me to go, where I can stick my controller. And so, yeah, there's different things like that. But
And telling you why he didn't switch off Genji when he should have. Nobody wants to attack Genji. Get up.
you should be a healer. You should be a healer. Shut up, Jared. Aaron, you're 28 years old. You're yelling at a 14-year-old. Well, he started it. Oh my
True.
gosh. But yeah, I mean, it just really depends.
Yeah.
But I mean, the one thing that from when I watch like people who do things like online, since there's sometimes I have a lot of free time where I just watch YouTube videos, and most of the time it's people who play video games and stream it, or people who talk about video games, but you don't really know what you're into until you pick up a controller. And either that be like your phone or like a computer, because I mean, Steam, you can download Steam for free, and they have free games on there, and then you can put in your information and buy new games. Or I cannot express to you how much money I've spent on Steam.
This is why I don't have Steam. This is exactly why.
And this also might be the reason my computer is not that great, because I just have so much memory of games on here.
It's all tired. Like, no
more games. But just find something on here like the indie store or like the indie games that the developer is some guy and his best friend in their basement, putting time and effort and creating video games. Like, it's a form of art, and being able to help support that or sponsor that, or just like, oh, this person did good work, I'm going to sit here and enjoy it. Like, that means a lot to some people, and so just being able to be a part of that is just really neat. But you don't really know until you just want to sit down somewhere and get your head smashed in by a roadhog. But it's whatever. No, don't pull the chain. No. Funky Town, quit dying. Okay, first of all, you guys are really mean right now. Not helping.
True.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah. I feel at least one step closer, and definitely understand where you guys come from a lot more on games than previous, because I know we never really had talked about that, so I'm glad that came up. But I'm not going to go out and buy probably still not going to go out and buy an Xbox or PlayStation, but
that's fair.
But anyway.
But maybe a puzzle game.
Maybe a puzzle game at least. A puzzle game. So cool. Well, I don't have any follow-up questions.
Not a lot you can do with stuff like that, but I mean, I watch a lot of people on YouTube, and sometimes just nice to see what other people have to say about a game or the gaming life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll probably end there so Airman can get to bed since he's got to be up so early.
Oh, I still have to pack.
Yeah,
early boy.
Sorry, Aaron. Sorry.
That's all right.
Burst your bubble.
Didn't mean to keep you up so late.
That's all right. It won't be the first time.
But
Jacobites.
Yeah. Well, what in the world?
I don't know. Anyway, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's not the right use of that term. But okay.
Don't worry about it. Just
you don't worry about it. You get your socks back. Go get up.
Writing so many things down right now. Taking notes. Okay.
I don't do it to
later.
you. I do it for you.
So. Oh, dude.
I don't feel like that's a service I want provided.
You're welcome. That's what I told the kids when I coached. Which also, by the way, Aaron might get back into teaching, but that's a story for another day. But that's the one thing I used to tell all my players, like whenever we do conditioning. Like, now, guys, I don't do it to you. I do it for you. And then I remember that's what Coach Scruggs used to say to me when I was in sports. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm turning into Scruggs. No!
Don't do that.
Please don't. Don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep where you're supposed to be teaching me how to drive in driver's ed. Don't do that.
Yeah, please don't. That's scary. Yeah. Well, you go get packed there, man, and you have a good week. And
drive safe.
Yeah.
I shall.
Excellent.
We'll do this again next time.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.